Welcome to the Saynetwork podcast. I'm Jim Sparks, and I'm here with Jordan Nix.
Hello.
Summar Bussey.
Hello.
There we go. And Mathijs Arens.
Hi.
Excellent. You passed your first test. That's right. I said season 6. If you are in the same boat as most people, you may have missed the 5 previous seasons.
Probably.
But fear not. You could go onto our YouTube channel and you could subscribe to our podcast to go and listen to all of those. We're very excited about season 6, changing the format a little bit. We are in the studio, though, again, for those watching on YouTube, and it's Christmas, magical time of the year. Favorite holiday?
Christmas.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely Christmas.
All right, cool. Well, not everyone in the Salvation Army agrees, but it's a very important time of the year for the Salvation Army, and we're excited that it is the season of giving. What was needs no season?
Are you like?
It was a Salvation Army phrase. Man, I'm just dating myself.
I don't know.
Someone listening is like, it's need knows no season. Real quick on me.
That is what it is. Yes.
It is need no season. But anyways, let's get to today's episode. In today's episode, we have, again, Summar Bussey, Mathijs Arens. They are 2 of the newest employees of the youth department. Summar started before Mathijs. Mathijs is our newest. Yeah. Cartman
newest.
came after. But this is their first time on the podcast, technically. We'll get into that later.
Summer got cut.
We did a cut Summar, and that was on me. That was my fault. That was not on Summar, but she did record one with us. Both are wildly talented, and we are lucky to have them join us. So let's do some rapid fire questions. We're going to shoot some questions your way, and just to get to know you a little bit more. Favorite color? Go.
Blue.
Purple.
Ooh. Favorite book in the Bible?
Ruth.
That's kind of a hipster answer.
Really? I mean, that's what it is.
That's good. Yes.
Ephesians.
Jordan, what's yours?
Genesis.
Oh, yeah, we start to the beginning. Favorite sports team?
The University of California. Period.
Los Angeles?
Nope. Just period. University of California.
Wow, you guys are that elite?
Yep.
Wow, that's pretty significant. For those of you guys don't know what University of California is, it's okay. Summar,
okay. It is okay.
Sports team?
So I don't really watch sports, but I would claim the Springboks for rugby.
The Springbok, where do they play? South Africa?
Yeah, that's a South African national rugby team. It has won the World Series several times and much better than the All Blacks.
Wow. Throwing down right here. Favorite superhero? Go ahead. You guys, this is your wheelhouse.
There's too much. Yeah.
Oh, I have 2. Captain America, Spider-Man.
It's Wonder Woman. It is Wonder Woman.
Okay. Jordan, do you have a favorite superhero?
No.
I don't really know all of them. I know about 5.
I guess
off the top of my head.
Maybe Thor.
Yeah.
He's funny.
All right. Biggest regret?
I try not to live in regret. I'll be honest. I know that's a cheap answer.
No, that's fine. That's your answer.
Oh, wait. No, I have one.
Oh, good.
It's when I decided I was in the marching band and
that was your regret?
The Giants the San Francisco Giants had just won the World Series and they were going to do this big parade. They invited the marching band to come and play. And because it was my first semester, I felt like I was going to be a bad student because I was missing a test and I needed to go to that test.
I will support you in that regret.
But I went the following year, so there you go.
Summar?
I'm really struggling to think of one.
Is there something that you've always wanted to try that you just didn't do it because you were scared?
No, because I feel like for the most part, I've just done it.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Not even a fist fight?
No.
No, she's not going to tell us.
No.
That she regrets not being a part of? Or that she regrets being a part of?
Well, I don't know.
Were you ever not in a fist fight and you wanted to be?
I don't think I've ever had any
Good.
Yeah, motivation. Physical aggression is not my natural,
Good.
choice.
You stay away from that, Summar.
Yeah.
We'll protect you. So this season will be a little bit different. For starters, we are going to do maybe less interviews, but one of the newest additions is we have a wheel That's right. A spinning wheel of topics. And so that's what will drive part of this podcast. And our guest will be able to spin a wheel and then come up with a story. So, because who doesn't like a wheel? Everyone loves a wheel. But first, Jordan is bringing our youth culture topic today. Jordan, what do you got for us?
Yes. So I was going to talk about, it's been a big topic in my house lately, but I feel like it's a very popular topic amongst youth today, which is sustainability and trying to pivot your lifestyle towards more sustainable products and things like that. I've been seeing a lot of commercials lately and ads for like climate neutral companies, and Amazon. They have like a whole section now where you can just buy their like climate neutral products and things like that. So I went on to the United Nations website to look at some youth stats that are for environment and climate change. So I'm just going to fire off a few of these. It said about 73% of surveyed youth say they currently feel the effects of climate change. Some 89% of youth respondents say young people can make a difference on climate change. Only 9% of youth are very confident the world will act quickly enough to address climate change. And it says, young people are key actors in raising awareness, running educational programs, promoting sustainable lifestyles, conserving nature, supporting renewable energy, adopting environmentally friendly practices, and implementing adaptation and mitigation projects.
You did it.
I got that out.
That was a mouthful.
But anyway, I think it's something that's very common. It's not going to go away. It's only going to keep getting more popular. So I guess my question is, have you guys pivoted your lifestyles at all recently to try to cut back on waste or recycling more? Or if you could, in some area of your life, what would you change?
I was at Starbucks yesterday and they gave us the paper straws, and I hear a lot of people like hating on the straws, and like even for me, like I had some chunky bits of ice that I was trying to drink and it wasn't working because the straw was falling apart. But it's not a huge sacrifice. Like it's different, but it's fine. But honestly, I know I could be doing so much better because the straws are terrible. Plastic straws are terrible, but there's so much more that I could be doing.
I feel like a big change that's really easy is just even if you bring your own mug, which they do. So it's like just like a cup every day. That's 30 cups a month that you're just throwing in the waste or the landfill.
Yeah. No, I feel like probably one of the biggest changes since I've like moved out on my own is trying to buy things like more in bulk or like in reusable packaging. So like I have glass hand soaps, and then I'll just buy one big thing and I'll just refill from that one. So instead of, getting 50 small like soap containers, I'm just using that kind of one. And then also just like in buying a recycling little bin for like my apartment to like go and take out to the recycling bin, it just makes it a little bit easier because there's like a place to put the recycling instead of like in the apartment. Because like most of the time I just will, I can't really I don't really have a place to put it. I don't want to just like throw it in a pile. But in going and like investing in just one of those little teeny tiny ones, I just throw my stuff in there and put it in the recycling bin.
Yeah, my wife and I, we just discovered there's like a refill shop near our house. So we take like say we buy some hand soap or something, we just take the container and like refill it with like hand soap they have there that's like in giant like
wait,
bulk
so there's a
containers.
shop?
Yeah, it's literally all refillable products. So you bring in, you don't like leave with any like plastic or anything. You just bring your own containers and fill it up. So even like our cleaning spray is like refilled from that shop, and we don't so it's like a bottle that we previously had that we like bought from Target or whatever, and then we ran out and then we went and refilled it. But it's a good way to cut back. Like
that's interesting. So it's all cleaning supplies, basically.
Cleaning supplies. There's also a
does it have, like,
food
shampoo?
shop next door that just opened. So it's like you can go get like, say you need more flour, you don't buy the package, you just bring like a jar and fill it up. And it's like a little more expensive because a lot of it is also like super like organic or like good ingredients or things like that. But it's cool to see places popping up like that that are trying.
They should do something like that with snacks. So you just like bring like your like little tub if you like, really want like goldfish or pretzels or something like that. And then you just like.
They
good to go.
They have that. It's like their own version of it
Oh,
at that place,
yeah.
but they have everything.
there you go.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even like the deodorant bars, they're just like little like blocks that you like put in a jar. And so then you're not like
Yeah,
throwing away, like, a
those
thing of
aren't
deodorant.
working. You had me tell that.
No, they actually are.
No.
Because that was like the last thing that I wanted to try. Then my wife was like, you need to try this. And then I was like,
Is
oh,
it
it
just
actually
like a bar
works.
of soap and you just like
It's,
Go for it.
I mean, it almost is. It's like round. It's like this big and it lasts like 2 months.
All right, I don't know about that one.
Okay, well,
I'm just saying that there was a trend a long time ago when I was a kid where like it was like this rock, this stone that people used as deodorant as a natural thing, and I could smell you still, and so it didn't work. But
I
that's
smell
really
it.
fascinating that you could go and fill that kind of stuff
Yeah.
up. I think that's really cool. For me, I was talking with Ed Covert at a camp, and he was talking about creation care and just simple things that can be done at camps to help. And just pouring out our water, pouring out all that stuff, where it's just so simple to put it down the drain
Mhm.
and stuff like that, where you don't need to. You could just go take it outside and water your plants
Right.
with that kind of
Mhm.
stuff. So like all these small things that, because sometimes with sustainability, it just seems too big.
Right.
It seems insurmountable.
Mhm.
Or it seems like I have to go to the extreme where I have to ride my bike all the way down here to Crestmont, 42 miles,
Yeah.
and it just seems extreme. But when you start looking at the small things that you do, like the example that you gave about the 6 cups,
Mhm.
That's a small thing that you could do that can make a bigger difference.
Right.
And so are we going to change the world individually? No.
No.
But collectively, creating habits that with that brain on is a little bit different. And so like even this morning at work, I had leftover water that's been in my cup for a while, and normally I would just dump it in the drain before I fill it, but I went outside and threw it in the bushes.
Yeah.
And so just those are small things, obviously. It is interesting because with the boomers going through, it was all about stuff, accumulating stuff, but that stuff got fixed
Mhm.
a lot of times too. And so we're growing up in a disposable world where everything is just, if it breaks, we just get rid of it and go get something new.
Right.
And so it brings on different challenges. So it is interesting to see if those two areas could kind of combine, where we're able to fix stuff and replace things without having to get whole replacements.
Right.
I think that's really cool. But yeah, the smaller things,
It's all the small pivots.
yeah.
yeah, it's kind of cool. And it is interesting how, for a youth culture standpoint, of how important this is for kids and how it's resonated with kids, because we're hearing it not just in the news of a couple young people making big news, like Greta Thunberg, I think
Mhm.
that's her last name.
Yeah.
And but my own kids they're conscious of that kind of stuff, so it's something that is resonating with them, and I think it's really cool. It's like one of those things you're like, hey, that's very positive for us to start thinking about.
Yeah.
And I think that is really neat. But man, I'm telling you, at first you're like, oh geez, am I gonna be wearing burlap soon?
Yeah. Well, it's hard because I mean we live in a society of convenience. So as soon as you're inconvenienced, like that's because my wife is like all for it. We're not like crazy like trying to go zero waste, but like cutting back wherever we can.
Mhm.
And at first I was like, I don't want to try this. Like I just want my like whatever we usually buy from Target, because also it's like, I don't know, you don't know if it's gonna work right or
Mhm.
but once you get in the mindset of like actually making that change or trying to cut back, you just you kind of get obsessed with finding places to like cut back on waste.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at just stuff that we buy to fill space,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes you have space in your house or your apartment or whatever, and you're like, oh, we should fill that space, and then you just start filling it with clothes,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and so different things that you could do to just be conscious of like, do I really need this?
Yeah. Well, and even just like I feel like the younger, like this generation is really focused on like minimalism and like thrifting and just kind of like
Yeah,
Just that
thrifting,
kind
by
of-
the way,
yeah.
that's a really interesting trend, because the previous group coming through, it was all about the most expensive thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then now this group, I'm like, to be a parent in this group, you're like, oh, I'm sorry, we're going thrifting this weekend?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, and like it's another really huge way that you can help with with being conservative with like buying new things is like most of the time like the clothes that are at thrift stores, and you can even find more upscale thrift stores where it's like it's actually really nice like name brand things that are pretty good quality, and you just have to maybe wash it, and then it's like, oh, okay, like basically brand new. So I'm all about thrifting.
Yeah.
It's fun.
I will say, as a new parent, I definitely toyed around with the idea of reusable diapers, like old school way.
All right, I'm out.
Of having to I mean, that's what people do all over the world. That's
Yes.
what people used to have to do instead of buying diaper after diaper after diaper after diaper. And I think for me, what encouraged me more about the idea of doing that was not trying to save the planet, but was more along the lines of I don't want to have to keep buying diapers again and again because everyone said, oh yeah, diapers are the most expensive thing. We ended up not doing that because we chickened out by the amount of work it would take to clean all those reusable diapers. But it was a thought.
Yeah. It's a stinky thought.
Yes, it was.
All right, cool. Excellent. Yes, let's take care of our world, take care of our God's creation, and do what even the small things that will help out
Yeah.
in the long run. All right, let's go to the wheel. Tice, you're up first.
Okay.
Let's take a spin here. We're spinning. And this one time on a mission trip, I
almost got pooped on.
wow, that happened quickly.
Yeah. It's my go-to story for talking about mission trips. So I went on a program called Service Corps, which is run by the youth department and is now under my care. And what it was is me and a team of...
I really hope this is about a bird.
No. Me and 5 other young adults went to Panama for 6 or 7 weeks. And we went to different locations to see different Salvation Army ministries and to take part and to learn how they do what they do and how to best support them. And one of the locations was a convalescent home where the seniors there needed help with everything. They needed help with food. They needed
shopping,
help. They also needed help
games.
and with sanitation and their own health, their own cleanliness. So, and they didn't have water to spare. I definitely love to take long showers, but there they didn't have the option of the running shower water. They had to do the sponge bath. Not the sponge bath. Basically to shower them, we had to fill buckets with water and a little bit of soap, and we had to bathe these seniors, and we each took a turn doing it. And there was one gentleman who, as I was helping clean him, which is in and of itself, that was really difficult for me to do. It didn't occur to me where I needed to position myself so that if maybe he let loose a little bit of fecal matter, that I would be safe. So I was, getting his feet and getting his legs. And suddenly I see this brown dropping pass in front of my eyes, and I jump back in time, and I was okay, and I was good, and I was clean. But it was definitely an experience I will not forget.
And was that on the itinerary?
It was not.
What?
Not that part of it. We knew that we were going to the senior home. They explained, hey, you're going to help clean these seniors, because the truth is that the people who work there do help with that every single day. Even after, I've been back in the States for however many years, but there are still seniors there, and they still need to get clean somehow. And the people who work there are still there giving them these bucket baths.
That's awesome.
That's the reality of life there.
And that's what's incredible to me about the Salvation Army. Like, I'm a 5th generation Salvationist. I've born and raised in the Salvation Army, and I've worked for the Army for over 20 years. And to find out that that's what we do, like, I feel like I'm finding out new things that the Salvation Army does to serve a specific need in different parts of the world, but not just different parts of the world, but here too. And that's incredible. Like, that's not something that you learn in Corps Cadets. Really, is like, this is one way to serve, is to take care of elderly people in this state. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah. And I think that was sort of the biggest thing for me was I knew I was going home. I knew that, even though I was panicking on the inside and I was feeling gross and I was like, I think I'm clean, but I don't feel clean. The truth was I knew I was going home eventually, and home meant safety. It meant running water. And these people were effectively home.
How did that experience impact your team? Because that's a very unusual thing to happen on Service Corps.
It is.
So how did that affect your team?
It is. So I had been on Service Corps twice before, and this was the first time I had experienced something like this. All of the team members, I think we each dealt with it a little bit differently. I definitely squirmed and felt very uncomfortable afterward. I was the only one who had a close encounter like that. Whereas maybe my other team members were just more strategic with, where they positioned themselves in helping these seniors to get clean.
I feel like you would know if one of the other ones had a close call.
Yes.
That's kind of a story that you tell people.
Yes. Or not. I don't know. But I think, we each just, were able to talk about it. And we talked ahead of time about how even just cleaning these seniors, knowing that we would see everything, was going to be an emotional or mental ordeal for us.
Yeah.
And some of us had already had experience with that, either with a family member or maybe even in another ministry. And so they sort of had that mental preparation already there. But for some of us, we just had to, find the courage to, pray to God for the courage to move forward and get it done, because there was a need that needed to be filled. And we were there to fill it.
Congratulations.
See, that's
amazing.
Yeah,
that's an amazing story. It's kind of gross, but amazing and like humbling. It's got like a bunch of different things going in there. Really cool. Summar, let's see if you we could get out a poop story out of you. Just read off the categories here. We have camp story, worst date, what do I like most about cats, crazy news story, Salvation Army news piece, youth worker highlight, youth group idea, embarrassing teenage story, and this one time on mission trip. Let's see where you land, Summar. And camp story. Give us a camp story, Summar. No doubt you went to many camps in your life.
Actually, no.
What?
I've been to a bunch of camps. So I'm originally from the Eastern Territory, so I've been to almost every Eastern Territory camp, and then I've been to maybe like 3 in the West and then 1 in the South. But I only worked at camp 2 years.
Yeah, but you went as a camper.
No.
What? Where did you just go do visitations at these camps?
No, I just stayed home because my parents worked at the training college, so I lived at the training college, so they didn't really we didn't need to go anywhere because they were close enough to like keep an eye on us. So yeah, all right,
give us a camp story.
Yeah, so I worked at Camp Tecumseh, which is the New Jersey camp, and it was kind of like a random. I wasn't really planning on working at camp, but I was like, I need a job, and I like threw it on Facebook, and a couple of people from New Jersey were like, you have to go to Tecumseh, because I had worked there. Like maybe 4 years before, when my aunt and uncle were the DYSs in New Jersey. So I just babysat my cousins for that summer. So not like a true camp situation, but this year I went and I was like, okay, I'll just like apply for, whatever positions are out there. And so there was a position to be the gatherer for camp, which I was like, what is
the gatherer?
Yeah, because
never heard of that.
The devotion time was called the gathering. So obviously the person who led the devotions was the gatherer, which I believe in the West is called the Christian education director. So my job right now, I did for a year, for a summer at Camp Tecumseh. But for some reason, they really just wanted me to focus on that time. So it was a pretty sweet deal. Like I woke up, got together my stuff for, the devotions for that morning, and then did the devotions, and then the whole rest of the time I just went to the pool and hung out with the kids. But so it was a great summer. go Tecumseh. But this specific summer, I was like, I am going to get a child saved. Like, that was like my goal. I was like, it is going to happen. Like, because I've never had that moment where I've like talked to somebody and like helped them get saved. So I was like, this is my chance. Like, I am the gatherer. Like, this is my thing. So we had, there was the youngest boy cabin. I want to say their names were like the Apache cabin. And, so I just kind of like clicked with them. Like, we were just like hanging out a lot. So I'd always sit with them at like the campfire and we would talk. And there was this one kid who like, we just became like kind of buddies. So like I was talking to him and we just kind of like little like chat and jokes and stuff like that. And it got to the point of Jesus Theater. And so in the East, there's this big production on, I want to say it's like Thursday night. And it's this production that tells the story of Jesus. And at this point, I was God in the Jesus Theater. So like, It was just, yeah,
Top
it was
billing.
like, it was like a one-off that they needed an extra person. So I went in as God. And I came down at the end and I could tell that he had been like touched by it. Like I could tell that there was something there. And I was like, okay, I was like, this is it. I'm going to get this child saved. Like, we're going to have this talk. It's going to be so great. So I like go up to him and I was like, hey, like, what'd you think of the Jesus Theater? And he was like, it was good. And I was like, okay, like, well, do you feel like it, did you understand it? So we're like trying to talk. And then he just like randomly just like shut down on me and like didn't want to talk about anything. And I was like, maybe I should like offer to pray with him. And I was like, it just felt like it was super off. And I just had like a little bit of a rougher summer, like not even because of, the camp environment. It's just working at camp is hard and I was feeling emotional and like.
Well, your job was hard. I mean, you had to be at the pool for a lot of the day.
Yeah, exhausting. But just like, especially because it's such the program staff is like kind of apart from like the counselors and stuff like that. But then because I was like this gatherer and I was the only person who did the gathering job, like it was kind of apart from the program staff as well. So I was having a really hard time like connecting with people. So I was just like, I can't even like, I was really struggling to make friends. And then I was like, and I can't even get a child saved. And I was like, this is so ridiculous. So I like, I was like moping by myself for a while, just like sitting in the dark. It's just like, I'm a terrible gatherer. Like, I'm never going to get a child saved. I was so upset with myself. So then eventually I was like, okay, I'm going to just like go to sleep. It's just been a rough night. I like start to walk back and the boys' cabin leader, like he was like in charge of like the spiritual side of the boys' cabins. So like the counselors. He had like just showed up that week too. So like I didn't even know him very well. Like hadn't had like one conversation with him. I'm walking like tears streaming down my eyes. I'm like, I'm fine. Like it's okay. Trying to not think about it. And he like stops me and he's like, are you okay? And I was like, oh no. Cause anytime somebody asks me if I'm okay, I'm trying to hold it back. It just like whoosh, comes out. All the emotions flood out. And so I was like explaining to him like, this is so hard and I wanted to get a child saved and he shut down on me and like blah, blah, blah. And I just, complaining. And he said to me, he was like, you have to stop thinking so hard about it. He's like, you have to understand that kids come to camp not just to get saved. They come to have this experience to be able to have these positive interactions. And he was like, and it's not about like the end product. He's like, you need to just focus on planting seeds right now. And he's like, and sometimes planting seeds means that you don't get to see what comes of it. He's like, and that's just a part of what camp is that we only get them for this short period of time. And who knows, maybe one day he's going to look back and he's going to say, hey, there was that one white lady, that one white lady who was really nice to me. And she played God in this Jesus theater. And maybe that's something that he's going to remember, but maybe he wasn't ready for that time. And it was just something that kind of like hit me like a pile of bricks. Like, oh yeah. And I had been studying education. I was planning on becoming a teacher. And I think so much is focused on like, oh, we have to get kids from A to B. Like we have to like make them, a certain thing. And it's like, no, a part of what ministry is just filling the need that they have right now. and just pouring some more water on the seed or planting the seed or pruning the plant. Like there are so many different parts of a child's life that we get to impact. And most of the time we're not going to ever see the full product. And so it's just this, it will always stick with me of this reminder of like, not just with kids, but with every person that you meet, like you have the opportunity to fill whatever their need is right now. So whether that be something as simple as a smile or a hug or a granola bar or, just something, but being sure that we're being intentional and not trying to force something that isn't natural, but just filling the need, pouring the water, helping supply what we can. So that was my camp story.
That's awesome. And she played God on her resume for the Christian Aid job.
Did you really?
Which now
No, I didn't.
now it puts it in perspective. No, it's very true, and it's hard to kind of sort that out at camp because I think it's similar with Service Corps as well. You go with this idea in mind of what is supposed to happen and how you're supposed to do it, and it's not the case. Tice went on Service Corps. I doubt he was thinking that I'm going to be watching people,
Not so much.
But you were bringing Jesus to the world.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to watch kind of that experience. And what is fascinating with camp, a lot of times, if you work there long enough, you get to see a lot of that progress.
Yeah.
And you'll see them come different. There's many times where I've seen a kid that we didn't want at camp, who is now at camp and is a different person altogether. And that's a really exciting time to see that. And it can be hard not knowing what's going on, especially if you're new to what some of these kids have to deal with. If you're new to what they have to deal with and you're hearing about it and then they just leave after 5 days, it's very difficult to kind of like go through. And it's something that I don't know if you could prepare for really, but that's good advice given to you. And something that not just in the camp world we should be looking at, but in just our everyday walk. All right, I think I have to spin the wheel.
Yep.
All right, here we go.
What's it gonna be?
Oh, this one time on a men's trip, we've already done that one. I'm not doing that one. Let's.
Well, let me tell you.
But the wheel chose you.
Well, I understand that, but I don't want to do that. Let's do a different one here. Let's roll this again. Sorry, I gotta reset all this. There we go.
If you press the button harder,
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's like the pressure.
Yeah.
Like, whoosh,
It's like a weight.
All right, here we go.
actually
Just throw your computer.
Youth group idea. Okay. So I sound like a teenager. Okay. So we did something at our core that I thought was really unique, and I went from like hating the whole concept to absolutely adoring it. I don't like lockouts. I think they're part of the devil's
Lock-ins?
scheme. Lock-ins. Sorry, they're part of the devil's scheme.
But
But we
can't go to church.
No one's
but we
allowed.
did a lockout. We actually did a lockout.
Hmm.
And I thought it was interesting. And instead of it being all games all night and then you're drinking some sort of concoction of Mountain Dew and Pez and at 2:00 in the morning, the thing is with lock-ins is when you get to like 11:45 at night, that's when pretty much everyone agrees that this has not been great. Like that's when it starts
I
because
hear
you start to think about, you're like, gosh, I gotta sleep on that pew. And the kids are like, what are we doing next? And you're like, oh, that's all the stuff I had planned. I didn't think it all the way through. But this was a lockout. And so what we did at our core, I didn't organize it, but I got to attend, luckily, is the kids went all to the youth room, and our social service director invited 3 homeless people to come and speak on what it's like to be homeless, to share with the kids their experience of being homeless. And it was powerful. Like it was really, really interesting. And so we listened to them, and then the kids were ushered outside. And I think there was dinner before all of that and whatever. But we didn't play games that night. And what ended up happening is the ARC is pretty close to our core. And so they had been collecting cardboard for us, and they brought over a big bin of cardboard. And so the kids had to make their own homes out in front of the core, not in the safety confines of the core, but out in front of the core. And at the time, there was quite a bit of homeless people living on that street, and so they built up their boxes and their homes outside, and we spent the night out there, and it was incredibly impactful. It was cold, for one, and what was interesting, the boys were super smart, and they put 2 cars, and they built basically a cabin in between the 2 cars, but they're boys, so they're not terribly smart. So the concept was a good idea, but they didn't take into account underneath the car and the wind just coming in underneath, and they froze through the whole night. The girls were actually very smart, and they built it was basically like a spider. So they were all legs. Their individual selves were all legs in cardboard boxes, and then all their heads were in this community box and stuff. They were hot in the night. They were poking holes in and stuff because of their heat. But then they learned other things. The sprinklers went on at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and which didn't land on the boxes, but the drain went right through the girls' camp and stuff like that. So in the night that they had to adjust, it was just really interesting of hearing that lifestyle. And then these kids had to kind of live it out to really understand it. And there was a lot of things that I learned. I know the kids learned, but I learned personally, because sometimes as leaders, we're like, oh, we're just going to youth group and that kind of stuff. But it was very impactful for me of just the people who were speaking were like, we just want people to say hello to us and treat us like we're human. And it was really, really impactful. I just thought it was a really cool version of a lock-in, a lockout, and it was impactful. And the kids that were part of that, they still talk about that night. It was pretty amazing.
I'm curious. I can imagine a couple of youth workers floating that idea to their core officer, or to any adult, and just getting no.
Yeah,
there's no way we're doing that. How did that happen? How did that actually come to fruition? Because I can imagine that being shut down at various stages of
planning.
No,
that's a good question. I don't know. I know that it was the YPSM at the time put it on, and with the social service director. So I think that had a lot of, there was control there. We did have 2 parents that were cops that volunteered that night, and they weren't dressed, obviously, but there was 3 of us that stayed up the entire night, or 4 of us that stayed up the entire night, just to make sure. But yeah, I think, there was trust, obviously, in the people doing it. And really what you want is we have to have a sound outcome out of that, because sometimes it looks like you're just making fun of them and stuff. But having them speak and getting a peek into their lifestyle and then experiencing that, I think was very impactful. And I think that every person, not just the youth, every person that was involved in that sees people differently on the streets because of it. So that, I think, is a really cool youth group idea. I think that it's pretty obtainable. It's not like this grandiose thing. It doesn't matter the size of your core to experience that. Yeah,
you guys had goals. You had, planned outcomes and expertise, people who could, walk alongside and provide that input. It's not just, hey, grab some cardboard and go outside.
Yeah, and I think what's cool is 3 of the people that were involved in that evening didn't do youth work at our core. And but they had an expertise, like you're saying, that they could offer for that night. And so that's something, as youth workers, you really should be, talking to people in your congregation, talking to everybody that doesn't seem like obvious youth workers, because they may have something to offer for a specific thing that you could use that could create a very large impact. So, that was a fun memory for me to come back to that youth group idea. Super cool.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
All right. Well, we've spun the wheels. We've talked about sustainability. And we've talked about poop, and we've talked about summer being God. And so that's really cool. And a gatherer. I got follow-up questions on that, on the gatherer. But we're going to plug something of our own for the Saynetwork. It's our youth worker onboarding kit. It's up on the Christmas tree if you're watching. Basically, it's a pizza box full of goodies and resources that youth workers could use when you first start. So when a paid youth worker starts, ask your DYS for an onboarding kit. And these kits should be landing on their desk before they arrive. So when they arrive, they have a plan. There's a full first 2 weeks of working plan on how to do your first 2 weeks at the Corps. It involves working with Corps officers and getting training from DHQ. A lot of really good resources in there. I'm sure there's a free shirt, of course, because it's the Salvation Army. But an excellent kit, and we want people to be using that. So if you are listening to this and you're starting your job soon and there's not a youth worker onboarding kit, ask your Corps officer. If you're a Corps officer, ask your DYS. They have kits available to you. Also with the kit comes 1 year membership to Download Youth Ministry, which is a very sweet deal. And that's what we're using to spin the wheel of goodness of topics. And so, get your youth worker onboarding kit today. Summar and Mathijs, thanks for being here. Anything we've talked about in this episode is linked in the show notes. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like and subscribe to the Saynetwork podcast on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. Or YouTube, I should say. So you don't miss out on new content. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back next week with a new episode and new guest.
Goodbye.
Amazing. See ya.
See